last video, we got our animation blueprint created, but we haven't actually started to do anything yet. Our BP slime inherits from BP enemy base. Right, our enemy base is a root component, a parent component that our BP slime will inherit from. As a result, we actually want to get our information from our enemy base instead of a BP slime for our animation. So back to ABP slime, the animation. Let's go ahead and on init. So I'm paying attention to which one you're working with, on init. We're going to right click and we're going to do get owning actor. And we'll cast to BP enemy base. And we'll bind that here. And as ABP enemy base, we're going to drag off and then promote a variable. And we'll call this one just enemy. This is so enemy can, the enemy base can own the variables that we will need access to. That way we don't have to do a bunch of extra work the next time we want to create another enemy. Then I'm going to take these parts right here, these three nodes, highlight them all, right click, and we're going to collapse to function, and we'll call it store essential variables. So on init, we want to store the essential variables. And then we want to set up on tick is moving. So we haven't set anything up to actually move yet. We're just trying to see if it is moving. And to do that, we're going to grab our enemy, drag that in. We'll do a get. So enemy, and we'll get velocity. Get velocity. We'll take that, and just like with the satyr, the character, the player character, we're going to get the vector length, XY. So we're getting the magnitude of movement. So I'll take this and press Q to align that. We want to store this into a variable by doing a comparison. So we'll drag from here, return value. We'll do greater than. We want to check to see if it's greater than 0. So if we're moving, regardless of the direction, if we are moving, then this will be greater than 0. We'll take this and we'll store this as a variable, so promote a variable, and we'll call it is moving. Then we need to actually connect the execution pins here. So every frame we're going to check to see, are we moving? And then we'll take this code right here. I'm going to highlight all those. I'm going to collapse to function. And I'll call this function check if moving. There we go. Actually, no, not check if moving. Let's rename this. I'm going to call it update is moving. Yeah. Might be a clearer way of phrasing that, but it works. All right, now we want to go into the anim graph for this. And actually, really quick, hit save and compile, just so those variables end up popping up when we need them to. So we need to make a locomotion state machine, just like we did with the ABP player character satyr. So right click and we'll do state machine, add new state machine, and we'll call it locomotion. We'll bind that here. And just like we did back in, I want to say video 8, we're going to open this up and we're going to create states for idle and walk. So place a new node and we'll call it animation state. And this will be called idle. And then we will drag from here and we'll create a new animation state, and this will be walk. Take this and I'm just going to reorganize this a bit. We're going to be able to go from idle to walk and back. Do from idle to walk, great. And let's set the rule here. We'll say if is moving is true. So we'll get is moving and we connect that, compile and save. And We'll go back to locomotion and we'll go from walk to idle. Open that up, and then we'll grab is moving. And then we want to check if it's not true. And then we take that and bind that here. And so we should transition between walk and idle based off of our movement. But we need to actually set the animations here. So I'm going to double click into idle, and I'm going to grab idle, play idle, make that here, and go into walk, right click, and we'll do walk, play walk, and connect that there, compile and save. Now that we have that, if I go back to my map and the game and press play, it will not do anything because we haven't told it to move yet. So let's fix that. I am going to take this and I'm going to bring it over onto this flat place I have right here. If you haven't already added one into your scene, go ahead and do that. Drag that there, and we'll make sure the Y is set to 0. We want to be able to see it pretty quickly and easily, but we don't want it to really have, that much in the way. We just want it to move back and forth. Well, move just forward, actually, for right now. All right, so I'm going to go to my BP slime, event graph, and on tick, we need to add a movement input. So we're going to right click here and we'll do get actor forward vector. We'll get this forward, and then we will add movement input. So it's just going to move forward in the direction of whatever its forward is. Compile and save. And then let's press play and see what happens. Well, it moved because I can tell because it fell off the face of the earth. So let's check that out. I don't start where I can see it, so I'm going to move my player start for right now so I can see the enemy. When it starts. All right, so it walked. It's moving. You can tell right now, though, that my current setup isn't super conducive for testing, so I'm going to take this enemy, I'm going to move it way over here, the most flat space I have. If this isn't flat enough, then I'm going to have to create something, even just to start out with and work with. Take my player start and bring it up here. So again, I'll take it again. Oh, and it's moving, and it moved really fast. Not really kind of a slow pace that I would look for. It's going way too fast. So how do we fix that? If we go to BP enemy base, not BP slime, BP enemy base. If I go to the character movement component, I can look for max walk speed. I can take this and I can cut it way back to like 60. Compile and save. Now, because our BP slime inherits from BP enemy base, it will move that slowly, and so will any other thing we make. So there we go. That may be too slow. Ooh, that's crazy that happened. We'll talk about that in a second. That's a little too slow. So I'm going to go back and I'll bring this up to maybe 80. There we go. And it walks into a wall. It just keeps going. Let's deal with that jumping on top of the enemy thing. So if I jump on top of the enemy, I get thrown into a completely different dimension. I get thrown behind the map. That's because our player is not set to be constrained. So I'm going to open up my BP player character. I'm going to open up my BP player character. Then click the character movement components, and we need to constrain. We click constrain to plane. and then set plane axis setting to Y. This means that we won't be able to move along Y. Now I can't get thrown into a different dimension. The reason why it worked that way, with bouncing forward or backwards, is because our colliders are spheres. And if they don't hit perfectly even, then our colliders are going to go off in different directions. This way we can only ever go in one direction, or two rather. We also want to go to our BP enemy base, character movement, and then we want to set the constraints here as well. This way our enemy can never move along Y, just in case. All right, and now we want to actually add the ability to flip directions. Right now our enemy can only go in the to the right. We want to have the ability to flip and go to the left. So if we actually open up our BP enemy base, go to our event graph, I want to create a new function. Do that over here. I'll call it change directions. And for this, we want to get the actor rotation. We want to combine rotators. So this is a way to rotate along a kind of set direction. This is a different way of handling rotation. And then we want to set actor rotation. Let's connect the execution pin before we forget, and set the return value from the combined rotators to the new rotation. And we want to rotate along Z, right? Our enemy is facing to the right here, but I can actually rotate it along Z in the map, and you can see that it will flip around the other direction. So we want to flip by 180 degrees. So if we go back to BP enemy base and I can set the rotator to rotate us by 180. Compile and save. And let's test it out. Now, once we have that function set up in BP enemy base, I'm going to compile and save. And I'm going to go to my BP slime. And then after add movement input, or maybe in addition to, let's do it in addition to. I'm going to right click here and I'll do change directions. And we did this function in enemy base, not the slime, but we're inheriting it from enemy base. And let's have it change directions. And let's have it do that after a delay. So we're just going to get this out of the way. We're going to disconnect this. We'll connect it back up later. We're going to grab a delay node and connect that there. So this is going to delay by however many seconds we give it. So let's give it 1. So after 1 second, it'll flip directions. So let's compile and save and press play. Oh, and there it is. So every 1 second, it is flipping directions. It's not moving, but it is doing the changing, right? We can set up when we want it to do that in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to go back to BP slime, and I'm going to delete these because that was just there for testing. And so now we can connect that there. We'll need the change direction function in a little bit. But that's going to be it for this one. Thanks.